you know, have you ever just had that episode where you, for whatever reason, you really have this personal vendetta against this episode and you don't really like it, and yet not a lot of people talk about this episode? As far as I'm concerned, a lot of people don't think this episode's good, but there's not a lot of whole criticisms to say that this episode's bad. And while this episode is certainly better than, say, Bridal Gossip, The Mysterious Ne'er-Do-Well, Spike at Your Service, or Some Pony to Watch Over Me, it's better than those episodes, and it's certainly at least better than Princess Spike. Why is this not an episode that is considered bad? Like I said, this episode, you know, I had originally thought that Daring Done was a strong contender to be the worst episode of Season 7. But after rewatching this episode, I'm thinking about what I'm saying. So you know what? Screw it. Let's just get into it. So, this is Marks and Recreation. The worst episode of Season 7 in my opinion. Let the pain and misery begin. So this episode actually doesn't start off, it doesn't really start off all that bad. We essentially see the Cutie Mark Crusaders basically helping out a bunch of fillies, but because they have a set time frame, they don't have enough time to get to all of them, so they basically come up with an idea. So they get the idea to do a Cutie Mark Day Camp, and this does seem like an interesting concept. The CMNC trying to help out all blank flanks on a more grand scale instead of just doing personal one-on-one time. So after the theme song, we see them do just that, though without any supervision, but that is just a minor detail that a lot of people seem invited to. Jesus. Alright, so you remember Hurricane Fluttershy? You know the Pegasus Thunderlane? He had a brother named Rumble. I guess Rumble must have gone through a lot of puberty since Hurricane Fluttershy, but I guess to be fair, Hurricane Fluttershy did take place in Season 2, almost eerily the same time as that episode, and it's like 5 seasons later, so I would expect to have some growth spurts for a Rumble. Well, so that's something to know. So while the CMNC do give him a flyer, his brother Thunderlane basically comes up as he tries to throw it in the trash, but Thunderlane gets the idea to basically bring Rumble to camp, as we see the CMNC do a really good job. Yeah, kind of makes me wish back to the days of my old camp, and that I literally went to Our Victory Day Camp literally every year, because you probably remember my old reviews way back in Season 1. This was a camp that I was going to up until my freshman year of high school, because by that point I was actually kind of getting too old to go there. But that camp I went to literally every single summer from kindergarten up until that point. But unfortunately, I had to leave. Well, obviously I couldn't do anymore because I have to move. But honestly, I don't even know if it's around anymore. I'll probably have to look it up another time. But yeah, and considering that we're now getting close to the season of summer, this is the perfect time to review the episode. So then we see Thunderlane essentially tricking his brother to be a part of the camp in his Wonderbolts outfit.
You said we were going to go practice for the Wonderbolt Ponyville Extravaganza show.
I'm going to Wonderbolt practice. You're going to Cutie Mark practice.
And we're glad to have you. I can't believe
They're all standing there acting like they don't know who Rainbow Dash is. Which is kind of weird, considering that this is one of the ponies that have saved Equestria a dozen times, but I digress. So, you might be thinking to yourself right now, we're only almost 4 minutes in, and there's nothing inherently wrong with the episode. So, why am I considering this the worst episode of Season 7 when there's nothing inherently wrong with it? Remember my issues with Princess Spike, and we will get to that. So while Thunder Lane leads Rumble behind, we see the CMNC practicing a shoe toss, and Rumble gives it a try.
No way he just let his brother. Whoops. Oh, I guess I won't be getting my cutie mark in the horseshoe toss.
And the episode takes a gigantic face plant. Oh my god. Okay, we'll get more into this, but first problem with the episode is that we see that Rumble barely puts in any effort to try to do the horseshoe toss, but that is just a minor issue, but it builds on more.
Don't worry about it, Rumble. Hardly any pony finds their calling on the first try.
Problem number 2. The CMNC have no idea that Rumble was throwing it off on purpose. Like, they don't think for 1 second that Rumble just didn't bother to put in any effort. I understand that they're trying to be encouraging, but Rumble gives off this I don't really care attitude, and honestly, even though I understand that he's a kid and there are kids who act like that, but the thing is, there are instances that he acts like a brat. And it kind of makes you wonder who was the bigger brat. Diamond Tiara before Crusaders of the Lost Mark, or him. But we'll get more into that later.
I wasn't worried. Good, because there's a ton of other stuff to try. Go find you something you're good at.
And then what ends up happening, we get a montage of essentially Rumble, basically not trying to participate in any activities, and essentially just throwing it, just not participating to do anything in both kayaking, archery, and yet the CMNC don't think for 1 second that, hey, Rumble is probably doing this shit on purpose.
Oops. Oops, basta. I've tried it all. Time to tell my brother this camp isn't for me.
I understand that they are kids, but this is Season 7. You would think that the CMNC would realize this by now in the way in Rumble is talking, that you think that he was doing this on purpose. But that is just a minor thing with this episode, because there are much, much bigger problems with this.
Come on, Rumble. Isn't it fun just trying stuff? Not really.
So while this is happening, one of the ponies that, believe it or not, the CMNC was helping through the beginning of the episode, helps her get her cutie mark in haiku.
That's what Cutie Mark Day Kids is all about. Working together and helping each other. But I can still come back, right? And maybe paint some circles? Of course. Let's all meet right back here tomorrow. Wow. I can't believe we got a cutie mark on the first day. Yep, this camp was a pretty swell idea.
Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention about this camp is that some other reviewers have pointed out this, but believe it or not, this is also the same camp that Applejack met with Rah-Rah. So, hooray for continuity, but it's not going to make up for the rest of the episode, because we're now going to get into the really, really dumb parts.
Every pony's really enjoyed it. Every pony except Rumble didn't have much luck with anything. Trying to find out what you're meant to do can be frustrating. You remember how long it took us to get our cutie mark?
That is true. But do you want to know what the difference between you guys and Rumble is? You guys didn't give up at the drop of a hat, and you didn't act like that you didn't care. It's like all of a sudden the CMNC just got repeatedly smashed with the idiot stick. No, not the idiot stick, the idiot jackhammer. Because they don't realize that Rumble was doing this on purpose.
I remember the nightmares. Well, can't let Rumble quit camp just because he didn't find something he's good at.
I do appreciate the camp. You know what? Forget it. Because now let's get to the really dumb part where the CMNC do find Rumble and they pester him until he finally blurts out why essentially he did it on purpose.
Please, I don't need your help because I don't want to get my cutie mark.
Alright. So as I said before, after the first commercial break, this is the point in the episode where the episode all of a sudden takes a right-hand turn off of the blue cliff and repeatedly smashes its face on the side of the rocks. Because this is where the episode starts with pain. You know I had my problems with Princess Spike after the first 10 minutes? Well, it's the same thing here, but in the first 7 minutes.
I must have hay in my ears because I thought I just heard Rumble say, "You heard right, I don't want my cutie mark." He said it again.
Okay, so I want to be somewhat fair. Because number one, I do think that Daring Dunn did have a lot more things that got me angry. But I want to give this episode the benefit of the doubt. Because this episode basically addresses the topics of cutie mark. And some speculations are saying that if you earn your cutie mark, is it something that you're going to be stuck doing for the rest of your life? I can understand that. It's sort of the same thing in college, is that if you focus on a specific major in, say, business, is it something that you could do for the rest of your life? Yes and no. Because even though I am currently working at a 9-to-5 job, I still have the time to do these videos, also writing fan fiction and playing video games, while also trying to keep my social life intact. Because even though I'm a business major, I am open to do other things. So I like how this episode tries to address that in theory. Let's begin the everlasting train of stupidity in the sign of Rumble being a total and complete other brat that makes Diamond Tiara before Season 5 seem like a frickin' saint.
Wanting a cutie mark is like not wanting to breathe. Every pony wants to know what they're meant to do. Not this pony. Why? Because cutie marks are silly, and they just force you into one thing your whole life. That's silly. Having a cutie mark doesn't mean you can't do other things. Yeah, our cutie marks aren't helping ponies with their cutie marks, but I still like making potions with Sakura.
The episode addresses this right out of the gate. So, I can understand why Rumble is saying that, because you obviously don't want to be stuck doing one thing for the rest of your life. Because I'm going to be perfectly honest. I did try to earn my driver's license when I was still living in New York. But I got stressed out whenever I got behind the wheel. Well, not entirely true. When I was with my mom, my sister, or my driver's ed instructor, I would do just fine. But when I got on the road test, I immediately cracked under pressure and I ended up failing. And after, trying to do the road test twice, because honestly I just felt like the road test people were just kind of insensitive and not even caring about what I felt and how I was doing, I just decided not to drive. And I was under the pretense, if people found out that I had no interest in trying to earn my driver's license and have no plan to do it in the future, they would have no interest in wanting to be a part of somebody that doesn't want to learn how to drive. Well, I do want to learn how to drive, but the thing is, I do not want to subject myself to the pressure of having to deal with the road test. And this is probably why I am still single, but that's beside the point. So I can understand why Rumble would think something that you want to be the opposite of something you want to do. But as I said, and it pertains to the episode, even if you do one thing that you're really good at most of your life, you can still do other things going on. And the episode addresses this in the first 8 minutes. So what does Rumble have to say? Here's a stupid answer.
And when was the last time you did that? I think you
yeah, because sometimes you do get to forget that it's going to be a long time for you to do something, but you really have to be good at something that it will take up a lot of your time, and there are times where you won't be able to do it. So I can understand Rumble's logic with that. But then he decides to chuck it out of the window and take it to the far end of the other extreme.
Oh, you mean doing the thing you got your cutie mark for? The thing you're stuck doing for the rest of your life? Oh.
You know what? I'm not even going to touch it just yet, because it's going to get much, much worse. Because this makes Rumble incredibly unlikable. And yes, I know I said that he is a kid, but you know what? Rumble is a brat. Plain and simple. He takes it to the far other extreme and is so narrow-minded in basically calling out the CMNC for doing the one thing that they're doing the entire time when they're just trying to help people.
Maybe we will be doing that more than anything else. But we love being cutie mark crusaders. Well, that's fine for you, but I'm not going to be put in a box.
That is the least of your problems. I really wish I would have that clip from Waterworld where Dennis Hopper smacks the kid upside the head. I know I said that in the Fame and Misfortunate review, but it's quite fitting for this its annoying little twit. And if I was looking pity for him, I would have said something a lot more colorful.
Best thing I've ever heard. Granny always says some ponies have to bow than a cutie mark.
So then we see the ever-potentially pompous brat basically try to practice for the but then Thunder Lane basically comes in and asks him why he's not at day camp.
The most elite flyer at Equestria someday, but for now, you should try other things too. Speaking of which, aren't you supposed to be at camp?
That camp is for losers who can't do anything.
Great. Hey, so there's no pressure. You can try everything and not be worried about looking bad.
I'm not worried about that. I just don't want to get a cutie mark in any of their ridiculous activities.
Do you know what? Let's just power through it, because we're about to get into the really, really, really... Let's just get into it. So the next day at camp, Rumble gets an incredibly...
What if I'm not good at anything else? You don't get a cutie mark just because you're good at something, or even because you like it. There's more to it than that. I'm real good at painting circles.
Keep in mind, the episode keeps addressing this. They know this for a fact, and what I'm doing is wrong. I know it's wrong, but I'm gonna do it anyways.
But I got my cutie mark in haiku, which is what I like. But I'm still a blank like you. So you can't get a cutie mark in something you like? No, we didn't say that. You don't have to. Rumble, you came back. Say goodbye to painting circles. You'll be too busy haiku-ing from now on. But I like circles. Come on, Rumble. That's not how cutie marks work. So that's how cutie marks work?
Oh my god. These ponies literally believe in what this kid has to say about cutie marks, and that he's being a manipulative, pompous twit. I would have played that longer, but that basically my feelings for this episode. And I probably would have played this during done, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Because now, we are about to get to the point now where the episode just completely shoots itself in the foot. Where essentially Rumble wants to...
I just said it wasn't.
Oh, and we get a song. So essentially, basically, Rumble sings a really, really, really godforsakenly awful song where I know some people made the argument where it's so bad it's good, but it's essentially basically the point of saying cutie marks are bad. You can do whatever you want.
Rumble, stop. That's just not true. So you're good at chop.
We never I can't understand why this kid is so hell-bent on basically saying, oh, you like doing something? Well, you're going to be stuck doing that for the rest of your life. And he acts like a cocky, pompous, spoiled brat that makes everything that Diamond Tiara did in the past 2 seasons seem freaking tame. And I understand that he's supposed to be the villain of the episode, but the song doesn't make me want to root for him. At this point, I probably would have just gone full-on Mondo and just strangled the kid by his neck to let him know how stupid he is, because he is that grating and frustrating to watch. By this point, at some point in the middle of the song, if I was in this situation... Oh, and by the way, he gets all the other ponies to turn the CMNC, who are being the reasonable ones at this point. So, Mondo, if you could tell Rumble something while I'm using this godforsakenly awful song to let him know that he is nothing but a pompous twit and a spoiled brat.
Gotcha, you little piece of shit! I don't know if you're a toy or a stuffed animal or whatever the hell. Either way, I'm gonna rip you to fucking shreds!
Yeah. I do not like this character. And it's also a really stupid argument because during the song, the filly that actually got the cutie mark earlier in the episode tries to cover it up with yellow paint. Well, how exactly is that supposed to work? What's the point in trying to derail the whole argument of cutie marks when you have a pony that just earned her cutie mark? It's still on her. What's the point in trying to hide it? He is essentially a cult leader, and he's not like Isaac from Children of the Corn where he's hilariously enjoyable. He's just a spoiled brat that I just want to strangle right about now, because Rumble is nothing more than a pompous twit.
Now wait just an apple-picking minute, Rumble. Where do you think you're leading our campers?
They're not your campers anymore. I'm starting a new camp. Every pony on this side of the line is at Camp Blank Blank forever!
Please kill him. Seriously, he won't be missed.
But you can't be a blank blank forever.
That's just the kind of talk I'd expect to hear from Camp Cutie Mark. Which is why blank blanks need a camp where we can enjoy being blank blanks and appreciate our blank blankiness without feeling pressure to get a cutie mark.
At this point, I don't even know what language this guy's speaking. It's excuse after excuse after excuse. He's using every excuse in the book of dumb excuses.
Yeah, because that's exactly what he's giving. He is literally giving the dumbest excuses of not getting a cutie mark. And while I would appreciate this episode for trying to address this topic, the problem is that Rumble has been just a narrow-minded brat who can't think for one logical second how stupid this is. And the fact that he can rally all these kids to do this is mind-boggling. And like I said, the episode addressed all the remarks of saying that you can enjoy doing other things even if you earn a cutie mark. They addressed this earlier in the episode, and he doesn't care.
Hold on, every pony. Blank blank forever. Blank blank forever. Blank blank forever. Blank blank forever. Blank blank forever.
I literally can't stand him. So yeah, it's because of Rumble, this entire episode shoots itself in the foot and makes this episode one of the worst. It is an incredibly stupid moment that drives my patience. What is it with crowds in MLP episodes that just follows anything that one person can just say out of the blue? It's like all of a sudden you can make a motivational speech and all of a sudden everybody falls in line. It is unbelievably ridiculous. So as the CMNC try to figure out what exactly just happened, they basically try to point out the logic of what's going on.
I just can't see what we did wrong. I thought every pony was having fun. They were until that Rumble came and made a mess of things. What are they doing now? It looks like whatever they want.
So then that was a really stupid plan on Rumble's part if they were literally going to do the exact same thing.
Then, what was the point? Point is that Rumble is a mad pony who must be stopped.
Or he's just a spoiled brat who deserves to get a belt to his backside, because that's what I want to see at this moment.
Now calm down, Crusaders. We just need to talk to him again. The key is to remain calm.
And I really hate to admit this, but this episode does give one really funny scene that I will give this episode credit for.
Cutie Mark, make you wrestle!
Ugh. I feel dirty for giving this episode praise at something.
By putting you in a special little box. Box!
And this would have been the moment I would have punched Rumble square across the nose by this point. But that's just semantics.
Come on, Cutie Bill. I don't think you remained calm long enough. Corn, you covered your cutie mark? I'm blank again, keeping my options open.
How? Like I said, I understand they're kids, but explain something to me. How? How is she keeping her options open if she already earned her cutie mark? Did Rumble just brainwash her? Did I enter the camp of the Tandy Computer Whiz Kids, where all of a sudden they're going to be talking about what they did on summer vacation, talk about computers or drug hotlines at this point? Right.
That's more than haiku. You did haiku right then.
Don't let them get in your head. You're an open-ended question.
Don't throw another question back. I know you're a debater, and I can debate with you all night long, and I will still work your ass in the ground.
I seriously wanted to sock this kid in the face right now.
Blank forever!
Blank forever!
Blank forever! Blank forever!
And then we get an even bigger, stupider part where he decides to get rid of activities.
Doing it forever! Blank, no more potential cutie mark activities!
I'm gonna rip your goddamn head off!
So he literally gets them to do nothing. I fucking hate this kid so much.
Well, Cutie Mark Day Camp is a spot for that kid.
So finally, they go talk to Thunderlane and explain to him why his brother is such a self-titled spoiled brat.
This is great. My little brother upended your entire camp? How in Equestria did he do that?
He doesn't like forever, you know?
No, I don't. Rumble's good at all that stuff.
Well, that doesn't make a lick of sense. Unless he was being bad at stuff on purpose.
They just figured it out. They figured it out that he was doing terribly on purpose when literally anyone would have called him out on it earlier in the episode. Can someone explain to me again why this episode gets a pass compared to some other episodes in this season?
Oh, I was afraid of this.
Afraid of what?
Ever since I became a Wonderbolt, Rumble's either watching me or trying to fly like me. He won't do anything else. That's why I thought your camp was such a good idea.
I don't understand. If Rumble wants to be a Wonderbolt someday, what's wrong with that?
Not a thing. But right now, he isn't even giving anything else a chance.
Yeah, no kidding. And maybe, you know what, I'm not going to dive into deeper it because he's essentially becoming the new Zephyr Breeze, where I'm just basically using other clips to basically call out on his bullshit. So while the CMNC get an idea of what to do, they don't do anything.
But Blank Forever Camp is kinda
Boring?
If we want to see Blank Blank Blanks, we can't risk doing stuff.
Okay, then you know what? By that logic, you spoiled own entitled twit.
All you care about is your own reasoning. You don't even listen to others. Bet everyone's lives on a deduction made by a self-righteous brat. You can't save anyone!
I'm just about done with him at this point.
What if I get a cutie mark at being bored?
I'm done. I'm done with these guys. So essentially, the cutie mark crusaders basically get Thunderland to join in, and because the brainwashing's probably worn off on these kids, they basically go to spend time with Thunderland and be part of activities. And Rumble does eventually decide to join over because he recognizes how much of a colossal twit and a fuck up he is.
Thunderling, aren't you gonna run the course?
Nope. I know I'm a Wonderbolt, and my cutie mark is all about moving fast, but I really like to cook.
Since when?
Well, we take turns making the meals at Wonderbolt HQ. I didn't want to at first, but now I love it. I just wish I tried it sooner.
You do?
Of course. More to me than just flying. But I bet there's more to you, too.
This is another episode that, while admittedly, this is a really good moral, the problem is, it is bogged down by the 8, 9, 10 minutes of the second act of stupid for us to get to it. You know what? I don't care anymore. So, while all the kids realize that they are not stupid, we see that Rumble enjoys cooking, and the Cutie Mark Day Camp is more successful.
I'm not worried about getting your cutie mark.
I already know I'm a good flyer. Kind of runs in the family. I guess it's time to see what other stuff I can do.
Yeah, you should have recognized that 20 minutes ago. Alright. So, that was Marks and Recreation. So, you know, I got to feel like there was a lot of defenses for this episode, and while admittedly there are some good things that you can dig up with for Southern Daring done, in the words of the Autarch, when discussing about the arguments for the Jasper Bat Jr. fight, there's some things I want to say about this episode.
You might be surprised to hear that.
I hate this fucker more than ever!
Yeah, despite some of the positives, I hate this episode more than ever. I'm sorry, this falls into the same trap as Princess Spike, in that, yes, while the moral is very good, and it did give me one good moment to get a chuckle out of, the problem is, you have to sit through almost 20 minutes of stupid to just get to the good parts, or in this case, one good part. Rumble is nothing but an entitled, spoiled brat who thinks that, oh, if you don't do anything, you think you'll just be boxed in for the rest of your life if you don't do anything, which is the best way to avoid getting your cutie mark. And while I will give this episode credit that it tries to address the issues on cutie marks and how they all work, the execution is a slog to get through because he had to come down to of who's worse. The CMNC for not recognizing Rumble's poor behavior and not recognizing that he was throwing things on purpose until much later in the episode, or Rumble, who's just a self-involved, egomaniac, entitled, spoiled brat who you just want to give a belt to his backside, who pretty much ruins almost the entirety of this episode. I'm sorry, no matter how good the moral is, if the execution is grating and frustrating to watch, I can't enjoy the episode. This episode was really just a slog for me to get through, and the only thing that made me think throughout the entire episode, every time Rumble was on screen, is that I wanted to do physical harm to him. Which obviously is not a good thing to say, but when you have somebody who is so in their own head to think, oh, I can do whatever I want by not doing nothing, and it's essentially just being a dick. Yeah, he's just being a dick. So, yeah, honestly, like I said, while I fully admit that I do hate Aaron Dunn more because it had a lot more things to be angry about and there was almost nothing about the episode that's good, this is almost the same thing how I felt about Flutter Brother with Princess Spike. In other words, Aaron Dunn is looking at this shit and laughing at it. It's really just kind of hilarious that how this episode is not considered one of the worst episodes of the season. So, yeah, as a whole, this episode gets a D-. The only reason I am not giving this episode an F, unlike Daring Done, is because of the last third of the episode that's actually very good, that makes the episode good. Where the episode starts out well, it takes a gigantic nosedive, but then it tries to scrounge up what bones it hasn't broken to get back up to the top of the hill. But aside from that, this episode sucks. And it gave me a lot more things to be disappointed and angry about. And that is why Marks and Recreation is the worst episode of Season 7. It gets a D-. There. I've been saving this rant since that one-off comment that was said in Fame and Misfortunate, and now hopefully we're getting back on the right track. So, next time we're taking a look at Once Upon a Zeppelin. And going out of the frying pan and going right back into the fire. See you guys next time. Bye.